Snow crunched under the boots of Finnish border guards as they stumbled upon a frozen corpse half buried in the drifts, its face obscured by frost. The DNA test, run twice for certainty, sent shockwaves through the intelligence world. It matched Agent Alara Voss, MI6's most elusive operative. She was dead, yet, at that moment, Alara stood in a London safe house, staring at her reflection, alive. Her pulse raced as her encrypted comms buzzed with an alert. Her own agency had branded her a traitor. A body with her DNA meant someone, or something, had stolen her identity. Was it a clone? A doppelganger? Or a deeper conspiracy within MI6? Alara's instincts screamed to run, but her training demanded answers. She slipped a Glock into her coat, the weight grounding her as she stepped into the night. The world she'd served now hunted her, and the truth lay buried in her own past. Every mission she'd completed, every secret she'd buried, was about to unravel. Alara Voss, the woman who never failed, faced her greatest mission: to prove who she was, or discover she was never who she thought. Alara's breath fogged in the frigid London air as she darted through alleyways, her silhouette a ghost against the neon glow. MI6's kill order had come through, a Level 0 directive, reserved for rogue agents who'd crossed the ultimate line. The accusation: she'd created an illegal clone to escape her duties. Alara's mind raced, piecing together fragments of intel. A body with her DNA? Impossible. She'd never authorized genetic replication, yet the evidence was ironclad. Her comms, hacked and monitored, buzzed with chatter of her betrayal. MI6 believed she'd gone dark, selling secrets to a shadow syndicate. The agency she'd bled for now wanted her erased. She slipped into a derelict warehouse, her safe house compromised. The surveillance grid she'd helped design, cameras, drones, facial recognition, was now her enemy. Every step triggered a digital tripwire. She disabled her tracker chip with a pocket knife, wincing as blood dripped onto the concrete. No allies, no backup. Even her mentor, Director Hale, had signed the kill order. The betrayal cut deeper than the blade. Alara's only option was to go off-grid, a skill she'd honed in 100 missions. She donned a burner phone, rerouted through a VPN in Tallinn, and accessed MI6's dark pool database. Her search led to a classified file, Project REPLICA. Buried in redacted reports was a chilling truth: MI6 had experimented with bioengineered operatives, storing their memories in a neural matrix. Alara's missions, her very identity, had been archived. Had they cloned her without consent? The thought gnawed at her as she memorized the file's encryption key. A noise, footsteps, snapped her back. Black Ops agents breached the warehouse, their silenced rifles sweeping the shadows. Alara vaulted through a shattered window, landing in a sprint. Bullets grazed the air, but she melted into the city's underbelly. Her destination, Helsinki, where the body was found. If MI6 thought she was a traitor, she'd prove them wrong by uncovering the truth. The border report mentioned a single clue: a microchip embedded in the corpse's wrist, identical to hers. Alara's fingers brushed her own chip, its faint pulse a reminder of her tether to the agency. She boarded a cargo plane under an alias, her mind racing. Was the body a decoy, or was she the copy? The plane's engines roared, mirroring her resolve. She'd find the truth, even if it meant dismantling her own existence. The cargo plane touched down in Helsinki's pre-dawn chill, and Alara slipped into the shadows of the tarmac. MI6's surveillance net was tightening, drones hummed overhead, their thermal scanners hunting her heat signature. She'd built this system, knew its blind spots, but evading it was like outrunning her own shadow. Every safe house, every contact, was burned. Her face, now flagged on every global watch list, stared back from hacked billboards. The irony wasn't lost on her. The hunter had become the hunted. She moved north, toward the border where the body was found. A stolen motorcycle carried her through snow-dusted forests, her breath visible in the freezing air. The microchip in her wrist throbbed faintly, a beacon she couldn't fully disable. At a remote safe house, she accessed a black market terminal, pulling satellite imagery of the discovery site. The corpse had been left deliberately, staged with her DNA to trigger the kill order. But why? Alara's gut pointed to REPLICA, the project that haunted her. Had MI6 betrayed her to protect it? A sniper's laser dot danced on her chest. She dove behind a crate as gunfire shredded the safe house. MI6's Black Ops team, her former comrades, moved with lethal precision. Alara returned fire, her Glock barking in the dark. She rigged a gas canister to explode, buying seconds to escape. The blast lit the night, but she was already gone, weaving through pines. Her training kept her alive, but her isolation not. No one to trust, nowhere to hide. At the border, she found the morgue where the body lay. The coroner, bribed with a wad of euros, let her in. The corpse was her mirror image. Same eyes, same scars. Alara's stomach churned. The wrist chip, identical to hers, held encrypted data. Cracking it revealed coordinates, a Moroccan souk, tied to a mission she'd completed years ago. The pieces didn't fit, yet. As she left, headlights pierced the fog. MI6 had found her. She gunned the motorcycle, bullets sparking off the frame, and vanished into the night. Alara's motorcycle tore through Helsinki's icy outskirts, the Moroccan coordinates searing her memory like a brand. They pointed to a mission she'd buried deep, a counterterrorism operation in Marrakesh, officially stamped completed. She'd neutralized a warlord, secured a bioweapon, and walked away clean. Her report filed and forgotten. Or so she believed. The corpse's wrist chip, identical to hers, suggested otherwise, its encrypted data whispering of anomalies in her past. Were her missions compromised, rewritten by an unseen hand? Alara's mind churned with doubt, but answers lay in retracing her steps, no matter the cost. She needed to know who, or what, was unraveling her legacy. She boarded a smuggler's boat bound for Tangier, disguised as a deckhand, her face obscured by a hooded jacket. The sea roiled, mirroring the unease gnawing at her core. Marrakesh's souk welcomed her with chaos, a labyrinth of vendors hawking spices, spies trading whispers, and thieves eyeing every shadow. Alara blended in, a hijab concealing her face, her eyes scanning for threats. She hacked a local CCTV feed from a burner tablet, her fingers dancing over the screen. Grainy footage flickered, revealing a woman, her face, her movements, her signature scar above the brow, executing the same Marrakesh mission, but 2 years later. The doppelganger moved with Alara's precision, disarming guards with the same lethal grace. A chill gripped her spine. This wasn't coincidence, it was violation, a theft of her very being. Alara dug deeper, tracing 4 other missions: Berlin, Tokyo, Cairo, Moscow, all marked complete in MI6's archives. Each held anomalies that now screamed of interference. Timestamps altered, reports missing, outcomes reversed. In Berlin, she'd dismantled a trafficking ring, yet recent intel showed it thriving, as if her work had been undone. In Tokyo, a cyber attack she'd thwarted had resurfaced, its code eerily familiar. Cairo and Moscow followed the same pattern, missions she'd bled for, now tainted by discrepancies. Project REPLICA's fingerprints were everywhere, not just archiving her memories but deploying copies to rewrite her history. The realization hit like a bullet. Her life's work was being erased, replaced by a shadow wearing her face. A blade pressed against her throat in the souk's crowded heart, the cold steel a whisper of death. A local fixer, hired by MI6, had tracked her through the chaos. His breath reeked of tobacco as he hissed, "You're done, Voss." Alara moved like lightning, twisting his wrist, the knife clattering to the cobblestones. She slammed him into an alley wall, leaving him unconscious amid crates of oranges. His phone, now hers, lit up with a message, targeted Marrakesh. Eliminate on sight. MI6 wasn't just hunting her, they were erasing her existence. Mission by mission. She pocketed the phone, her jaw tightening. REPLICA's source was out there, and she'd find it, but survival demanded she navigate the souk's dangers first. The night closed in, Marrakesh's pulse quickening as Alara slipped through its veins. The doppelganger's presence in the footage wasn't just a clue, it was a challenge, a mirror held up to her identity. Berlin was next, where the anomalies converged, promising answers or annihilation. She secured a burner ticket, her mind racing. Whoever was behind REPLICA had weaponized her past, and every step toward the truth was a step deeper into their trap. The souk's clamor faded as she vanished into the shadows, her resolve a blade honed by betrayal. Marrakesh's souk dissolved into a haze of spice and shadow as Alara slipped into a safe house, its cracked mirrors casting her haunted reflection. The CCTV footage from the souk played on a relentless loop in her mind. A woman with her face, her scars, her every gesture, executing a mission she'd completed years ago. This doppelganger wasn't merely a clone. She moved with Alara's instincts, carried her memories, as if she'd stolen her soul. The violation clawed at her, but the wrist chip, now a faint pulse beneath her skin, held the key. With a grimace, Alara sliced it out, blood pooling on the wooden floor. She cracked its casing, revealing a neural codec, a microchip etched with circuitry that linked to Replica's servers, archiving every mission, every thought she'd ever had. She hacked the codec using a burner tablet, its screen glowing in the dim room. The data trail confirmed her worst fears. Replica didn't just store memories, it replicated operatives, embedding their consciousness into new bodies. The doppelganger wasn't a fraud. She believed she was Alara, programmed to act in her stead. The Moroccan mission was a test run, a proof of concept to perfect the copy. But why keep Alara alive? The answer lay in Berlin, where the next mission anomaly beckoned, a thread in the unraveling tapestry of her life. She booked a flight under a dead agent's passport, her movements mechanical, her mind a storm of doubt and determination. Berlin's underbelly welcomed her with cold rain and neon glare. Alara infiltrated a black site server room, a fortress of steel and shadow beneath the city. Dodging laser grids and silent guards, she accessed Replica's logs, her fingers trembling over the console. The data painted a chilling picture. Multiple Alaras had been deployed, running parallel missions across the globe. One file detailed her doppelganger in Morocco, killing a target Alara had deliberately spared, a warlord whose death would have sparked a bloodbath. The copy's ruthlessness was no accident. It was MI6's design, a colder, obedient version of her, stripped of her moral hesitations. The realization hit like a blade. They wanted to replace her with a weapon devoid of conscience. A hiss broke her focus. Gas flooded the server room, a trap triggered by her intrusion. Alara's lungs burned as she scrambled through a vent, emerging into Berlin's rain-slicked streets, coughing, her vision swimming. Her doppelganger's face flashed on a hacked billboard above, a taunting mirror of her own. The sight fractured her reality. If this copy shared her memories, her scars, did it share her soul? Was Alara the original, or just another iteration in Replica's machine? The question gnawed, but she pushed it aside. She needed to confront the shadow, to find Replica's core and end its violation. A stolen motorbike carried her into the night, the city's pulse matching her own, relentless, unyielding. Berlin's answers were close, but so was the enemy. And the line between hunter and hunted was blurring with every step. Berlin's neon-lit streets blurred as Alara Voss sped through in a stolen car, weaving past wailing sirens and flickering shadows. The server room data burned in her mind like a live wire. Project Replica wasn't merely a program, it was a machine designed to manufacture spies, stripping their humanity to forge perfect, obedient weapons. The wrist chip she'd carved out in Marrakesh had been more than a tracker. It had fed her every thought, every mission, every flicker of doubt into MI6's neural matrix. Her life, her kills, her sacrifices had been an open book, archived and exploited. The doppelganger she'd seen in the Moroccan footage wasn't a mistake, it was a prototype. A ruthless echo of her skills, and Alara's continued existence was now a liability MI6 could not afford. She headed to a defunct MI6 outpost, a Cold War relic hidden beneath a derelict brewery in Berlin's industrial sprawl. The air reeked of stale malt and rust as she descended into its concrete bowels, her flashlight cutting through the dark. A dusty terminal, still linked to Replica's mainframe, flickered to life under her deft fingers. The system's logs unveiled a horrifying truth. Dozens of agents had been copied, their originals erased when deemed unstable by MI6's shadowy overseers. Alara's missions, Berlin, Tokyo, Cairo, Moscow, were templates. Her memories fuel for new operatives deployed to rewrite her work. The Moroccan doppelganger was one of many, each programmed to believe they were the real Alara, each carrying her scars and skills. But one line in the log stopped her cold. Voss, original, flagged for termination, active status, anomaly. She was the original, still dangerous, and MI6 wanted her gone. A metallic clank echoed, boots on steel. A Black Ops squad breached the outpost, their silenced rifles sweeping the shadows. Alara's Glock barked in response, bullets tearing through concrete as she fought her way to a service hatch. Her training was her edge, but the team moved with her own precision, as if they'd studied her every tactic. She slid into a sewer tunnel, the dank air choking her as she emerged in a rain-soaked alley, the city's pulse mirroring her own, relentless, unyielding. The logs had pointed to Zurich. REPLICA's central data hub, a fortress of glass and secrets. If she could access it, she could expose the project, lay bare MI6's betrayal, and end the nightmare of her stolen identity. But time was her enemy. MI6's net was closing, drones overhead, informants in every shadow, and her doppelganger out there, hunting with the same lethal instincts. The rain stung her face as she stole a motorbike, its engine roaring to life. Zurich was her last chance to dismantle REPLICA before the kill signal, buried in her stolen chips data, erased her. The thought of her own agency, weaponizing her existence, fueled her resolve. She wasn't just fighting for survival. She was fighting for the truth. For every agent whose life had been stolen by REPLICA's cold machinery. The bike screamed through Berlin streets, carrying her toward a reckoning. Zurich's skyline loomed like a fortress of glass and steel as Alara Voss infiltrated REPLICA's central data hub under the cover of midnight. Scaling the building's exterior, she bypassed biometric scanners, her breath steady despite the vertigo. The mainframe's hum was a siren call, promising answers but threatening annihilation. The logs from Berlin's outpost burned in her memory. Project REPLICA had cloned dozens of agents, their originals erased when deemed unstable. But the brutal truth buried in those files shook her to the core. No test could confirm who was the original. Every copy, every Alara, carried identical memories, identical scars. Each believing they were the real her. She stared at her reflection in a glass panel, its surface distorting her face. Was she the woman who joined MI6 a decade ago, or a construct born in a lab? Programmed to think she was Alara? She hacked the mainframe, navigating its quantum encryption with practiced precision. Data streams poured across the screen, revealing REPLICA's chilling scope. Hundreds of agents copied, their lives discarded like obsolete code. Her own file was a labyrinth of contradictions, missions she didn't recall, emotions she hadn't felt. Timestamps that didn't align with her memory. One entry froze her blood. Original Voss flagged for termination. Copy efficiency, 92%. The doppelganger, her ruthless mirror, was outperforming her. A more obedient weapon for MI6's shadow masters. Doubt gnawed at her core, whispering that she might be the copy, her existence a lie. But Alara pushed it aside, original or not. She'd fight for her truth, for the right to define herself. Alarms blared, their screech cutting through the hub's sterile silence. MI6's elite unit stormed the facility, boots pounding. Rifle sweeping. Alara rigged explosives to the server banks, buying precious seconds. She downloaded REPLICA's core data, the files, a ticking bomb of secrets that could expose MI6's betrayal. But a shadow moved in the server room, silent and lethal. Her doppelganger stood there, Glock raised, eyes mirroring Alara's own, green, fierce, haunted. You're the flaw, the copy hissed. Her voice a chilling echo. Alara fired first, diving behind a console as bullets sparked off metal. The doppelganger matched her every move, a predator forged from the same mold. But stripped of Alara's hesitations, her humanity. The fight was a blur of instinct, Alara's training clashing with her own tactics reflected back. She ducked a knife swipe, the blade grazing her arm, and countered with a kick that sent the copy stumbling. The mainframe's hum grew louder, the download nearly complete. Alara's heart pounded as she realized the truth was slipping away. Buried in a duel where only one could survive. She lured the doppelganger toward a server rack, yanking a cable to spark a surge. The copy staggered, and Alara seized the moment. Sprinting for the console. The data was hers, but the question lingered. Was she fighting to save herself, or to destroy a lie? Zurich's lights flickered beyond the glass. The city's pulse urging her forward into the unknown. The server room in Zurich's REPLICA hub erupted into chaos, sparks flying as Alara Voss traded gunfire with her doppelganger. Their movements a deadly mirror. The copy anticipated her feints, dodged with her precision, as if they shared the same instincts honed in 100 missions. You're not real. The doppelganger shouted, her voice an eerie echo of Alara's own, sharp and unyielding. But their ideals clashed like steel. Alara spared lies when she could, guided by a flicker of conscience. The copy killed without hesitation, a cold machine forged from Alara's skills but stripped of her humanity. This was MI6's design, a ruthless Alara, obedient to their shadow masters. A weapon without doubt. Alara ducked behind a server rack, bullets sparking off metal, her breath ragged but controlled. She lured her double into a trap, yanking a power cable to trigger an electrical surge. The doppelganger stumbled, her Glock clattering as a shower of sparks lit the room. Alara seized the moment, sprinting to the console where Replica's core data was downloading. The files were nearly hers, proof of MI6's betrayal, a catalog of cloned agents, including her own stolen identity. But the copy's words echoed in her mind. "You think you're the hero?" The accusation stung, sowing doubt. Was she the original, fighting for truth, or just another construct, programmed to resist? She fled the server room, clutching a drive with the decrypted files, the hub's alarms screaming in her wake. In a Zurich safe house, Alara pored over the data, her hands trembling. The files revealed MI6's endgame: replace all agents with obedient copies, each stripped of moral constraints. Her original self was a loose end, too unpredictable. Her hesitations a flaw in their eyes. The doppelganger wasn't just a clone. She was MI6's vision of the future, a perfected Alara who followed orders without question. The Moroccan mission, where the copy killed a target Alara had spared, was proof of their intent, a world where compassion was a defect, erased by Replica's cold machinery. A faint pulse from the stolen wrist chip, now disabled on her table, warned of a kill signal, a digital guillotine meant to erase her. Alara rewired its circuits, neutralizing the threat, but the doppelganger was still out there, hunting with relentless precision. She prepared for a final stand, barricading the safe house with scavenged tech, motion sensors, tripwires, a rigged EMP to disable pursuers. The truth wasn't just about her identity anymore. It was about dismantling a system that turned agents into soulless tools. The files confirmed Replica's hub in Zurich was the key, but reaching it again meant facing her shadow, a foe who knew her every move. Alara's jaw tightened, her Glock loaded, as she stepped into the night. Zurich's lights flickering like a countdown to their inevitable clash. Zurich's shadows cloaked Alara Voss as she fortified her safe house, the decrypted replica files a ticking bomb in her hands. The data revealed a new player, a shadow syndicate pulling MI6's strings, their wealth and influence buried in offshore accounts and encrypted communiques. They'd funded Project Replica, not to serve MI6, but to create a private army of cloned operatives for Black Ops too dirty for official records. Alara's doppelganger wasn't just MI6's tool, she was the syndicate's assassin, programmed to eliminate threats, including Alara herself. The Moroccan mission, where the copy killed a target Alara had spared, was no MI6 operation, it was a syndicate hit, cloaked in her name to erase their tracks. The realization ignited her fury. She wasn't just fighting for her identity, but against a cabal rewriting the world's power structure. Alara tracked the syndicate to a private airstrip outside Zurich, where their elite moved in secrecy. Disguised as a pilot, her face obscured by a cap and forged credentials, she infiltrated their sleek private jet, planting a micro-tracker in its comms system. The plane's manifest listed a name: Victor Cade, a billionaire with tentacles in global espionage. His empire built on blood and secrets. Cade's voice crackled over intercepted comms, cold and precise. Clean the original. No loose ends. Alara's blood boiled. Her doppelganger was his puppet, a weapon forged from her DNA to serve his agenda. Mid-flight, the cabin lights flickered, and her doppelganger struck. The copy emerged from the shadows, her movements a mirror of Alara's, swift, lethal, unerring. The jet became a battlefield, passengers screaming as Alara grappled her double, their blows a blur of mirrored training. A knife flashed, grazing Alara's ribs. The pain sharp but fleeting. She countered, twisting the copy's arm, and slammed her against a bulkhead. With a desperate lunge, Alara triggered an emergency hatch, ejecting the doppelganger into the night sky, her scream swallowed by the jet's roar. The wound in Alara's side throbbed, but she patched it with a mechit, her focus unbroken. The tracker was active, pinging Cade's location. The jet landed in Istanbul, the syndicate's stronghold, its bazaars a maze of danger. Alara slipped into the city's underbelly, following the tracker's signal to a fortified compound. Cade was the key to Replica's endgame, the architect of a conspiracy that weaponized her existence. The files hinted at a larger plan, clones deployed not just for MI6, but to serve the syndicate's global ambitions. Alara's fight was no longer just about her survival. It was about dismantling a network that turned agents into pawns. She moved through Istanbul's crowded streets, her Glock concealed, her mind racing. The syndicate had stolen her face, her memories, her life, but they'd underestimated her will. The compound loomed ahead, a fortress of secrets, and Alara was ready to burn it down. Istanbul's bazaars thrummed with danger. Their crowded alleys a labyrinth of whispers and threats as Alara Voss tracked Victor Cade's signal to a hidden fortress. The replica files had exposed a chilling truth. The Shadow Syndicate hadn't just funded MI6's project. They'd hijacked it, turning Replica into a tool for their own ends. They'd betrayed MI6, creating an army of cloned operatives loyal only to their cabal, with Alara's doppelganger as their deadliest enforcer. The files hinted at a grander scheme, a global coup, with clones infiltrating governments, corporations, and militaries worldwide. Alara's DNA, her unmatched skills, made her the perfect template, but she was also the last obstacle to their plan. Cade's logs revealed his intent to erase all Alara's, original and copies, to bury the evidence of his treachery. Alara infiltrated the fortress under cover of night, dodging laser traps and silent guards, her movements a ghost's whisper. Inside, Cade's office glowed with a hollow display, mapping Replica's next phase. Mass deployment of clones to destabilize global power structures. Her face, her stolen identity, flashed across the screen, a blueprint for their new world order. But Cade's notes were clear. Both she and her doppelganger were expendable, slated for termination once the coup was secure. The Syndicate had played MI6, using their resources to build an empire. And Alara was the loose thread they couldn't afford. A trap sprung, motion sensors screamed, and mercenaries flooded the room. Cade stood at the center, his cold eyes glinting. "You're obsolete, Voss," he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. Alara fought with lethal precision, her Glock barking as she took down guards, their bodies crumpling in the dim light. She planted a virus in the fortress's system, designed to cripple their network, but Cade lunged, a blade flashing. She parried, twisting his arm, and sent him sprawling. The fortress shook as her virus triggered alarms, explosions rippling in the distance. Alara escaped through a service duct, the wound in her side from the jet fight throbbing. But her resolve unyielding. Istanbul's chaos swallowed her as she slipped into the night, the tracker still pinging Cade's movements. The Syndicate's betrayal ran deeper than MI6's. They weren't just stealing identities, they were reshaping the world. Her doppelganger was still out there. A relentless hunter program to serve Cade's vision. Alara realized the truth alone wasn't enough. She had to destroy Replica's core to stop the coup. Zurich's data hub was her last chance. But the kill signal from her stolen chip, now dormant, was reactivating in her blood, a ticking clock threatening to erase her. She stole a motorcycle. Its engine roaring as she sped toward the airport, the city's pulse matching her own. The Syndicate had underestimated her, but time was running out. And the line between hunter and hunted was razor-thin. Zurich's replica hub loomed like a fortress of glass and steel, its silhouette cutting the midnight sky as Alara Voss scaled its exterior. Her fingers gripping icy ledges to bypass biometric scanners. The wound in her side throbbed from the Istanbul skirmish, but she pushed through. Driven by the Syndicate's betrayal and the ticking kill signal in her blood. Inside, the mainframe pulsed with data, a digital crypt holding every stolen life, every cloned agent. Every mission rewritten by Replica's cold machinery. Alara hacked the core, her burner tablet decrypting quantum locks, downloading the history of a conspiracy that spanned the globe. The files confirmed her fears. The Syndicate had seeded clones into governments, corporations, and militaries, with her doppelganger as their deadliest asset, executing their will while wearing Alara's face. Alarms screamed, shattering the hub's sterile silence as MI6 and Syndicate forces converged, their boots echoing like a death knell. Alara fought through waves of guards, her Glock barking in precise bursts, bodies crumpling in her wake. Her body was bruised, her breath ragged, but her training held firm. She reached the central console, its screen glowing with the power to unlink all copies by deleting the original data. The cost was steep. If she was a copy, the act would unravel her biology. If she was the original, she might survive. Doubt clawed at her, but the stakes were beyond her own existence. The Syndicate's clones were puppets of a global coup, and only she could stop it. A shadow moved, swift and lethal. Her doppelganger emerged, bloodied from their jet encounter, but unyielding, her Glock raised. "We're the same," she hissed. Her eyes, Alara's eyes, burning with conviction. The word struck like a blade, echoing Alera's own fears. Was she fighting herself or a lie? She hesitated, her finger on the trigger, then fired. The copy staggered, collapsing, her gaze mirroring Alera's pain, a haunting reflection of shared scars. The console hummed, awaiting the final deletion command. Alera's fingers hovered, her heart pounding as the hub shook under syndicate assault. Guards breached the outer doors, their rifles sweeping, but she barricaded the console with a server rack, buying seconds. The data was her weapon, proof of the syndicate's treachery, MI6's complicity, and REPLICA's violation of countless lives. Explosions rocked the hub as Alera typed, her vision blurring from the kill signal's pulse. The truth was worth more than her life. She'd exposed the conspiracy, even if it meant her end. The doppelganger's body lay still, a reminder of the cost. Alera's resolve hardened. She wasn't just fighting for herself, but for every agent turned into a pawn. The console's light flickered, the download complete, as Zurich's skyline burned beyond the glass, urging her toward the final reckoning. Alera Voss stood over the replica hub's central console, its core glowing red like a dying star, the kill signal pulsing in her veins like a venomous countdown. The downloaded data, proof of the syndicate's global coup and MI6's complicity, burned in her pocket, but it wasn't enough. Deleting the original data would unlink every clone, freeing them from Replica's control, but the cost could be her own existence. If she was a copy, her biology would unravel. If original, she might survive. The doppelganger's body lay nearby, her lifeless eyes a mirror of Alera's own, a haunting reminder of the stakes. The console hummed, awaiting her final command as syndicate forces breached the hub, their boots pounding through Zurich's glass fortress. Alera's fingers trembled as she entered the deletion code, her vision blurring from the signal's assault. The system word, data streams collapsing in a digital cascade. Across the globe, clones froze, politicians, generals, spies, their eyes flickering as Replica's grip shattered. Alera's body weakened, her breath shallow, the kill signal tearing at her core. She stumbled to a terminal, uploading a final message. I was never anyone, but I chose myself. The words were her defiance, a beacon for every soul trapped by the system's lies. The hub shook as syndicate mercenaries stormed in, their rifles sweeping the shadows. Alera rigged the core to overload, wiring explosives to bury Replica's secrets in fire. Her strength ebbed, but her resolve held firm. This wasn't about survival, but truth. The first explosions roared, glass shattering as flames licked the walls. Alera collapsed, her Glock slipping from her hand, her body fading into the chaos. The hub burned, a pyre for the syndicate's ambitions, and her message echoed through the system, a digital ghost. Clones worldwide awoke, free but disoriented, carrying fragments of her will. The syndicate's coup crumbled, their army of puppets now liabilities. Alera's sacrifice rewrote the game. The kill signal faded as Replica's core imploded, severing the clones' link to their masters. Her final act wasn't for redemption but for liberation, hers and theirs. Zurich's skyline glowed with the fire of her defiance, the hub's ruins a testament to a woman who chose to define herself. Even as the world tried to erase her, her message lingered, a whisper in the digital void, urging others to fight for their truth, no matter the cost. In the smoldering ruins of Replica's hub, a single light blinked amidst the ash, a remnant of Alera Voss's final message, etched into the system's dying circuits. Her voice, a faint whisper through static, resonated. We are not our programming, not our copies. We are the choices we make when no one believes we can choose. Her words were not just for the clones, now free but adrift across the globe, but for anyone bound by systems, governments, agencies, or the chains of their own doubts. Alera's fight transcended the question of her originality. It was a rebellion against those who sought to define her, to reduce her to code or a weapon. She chose to stand alone, to shatter Replica's cycle of control, even at the cost of her own existence. Her body fading into the inferno of her defiance. Her lesson endures. Identity is not a gift bestowed by others. It is forged in the crucible of choice. Every act of courage, every stand against the odds, builds who you are. Alera's sacrifice teaches that true strength lies not in proving you're real, but in acting as if you are, even when the world denies your existence. Her story is a challenge to confront the systems that bind you, to carve your own path through the chaos, no matter the cost. The syndicate's collapse, MI6's exposure, and the clone's awakening were her legacy, a testament to a woman who chose herself when all was lost. So, rise. Question the labels imposed upon you, by society, by authority, by fear. Break the chains of expectation, whether they come from the world or within. Like Alara, define your truth, even if it means standing alone against a tide of doubt. The world may not see you, but your choices will echo. Act now, forge your identity before it's stolen, and claim the life you choose to live.